very beginning of today's session, you can type your questions right into the chat and we'll make sure that we get those read for our guest panelist today. But before we meet our guest panelist, I would like to introduce my co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, this man dishes out more nuggets than an employee at the drive-thru at McDonald's. Ladies and gentlemen, give some love to John Marshall. Hey, John.
Hey, Scott. I'll look forward to your intros.
Me too. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. I just go, wing it, kid. Knock 'em out. But John, always good to see you on the call. But let's talk to our guest panelists. Super excited to have these guys here today. MX Merchant. A lot of you should be familiar with it, but also let me say that in the same breath, we've got a lot of brand new agents that have joined us since MX last joined us. So today we don't have one, but we have two panelists. Let's give some love and let's give a round of applause to our two guest panelists from MX Merchant. We have got Brandon and we have got Tony. Gentlemen, let's do a mic check.
How's it going, Scott?
It's going very well.
Check.
There's Tony and Brandon. One more time.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
There
Perfect.
we go. Awesome.
There we go. Excellent. Let's get this kicked off. So yeah, when I went through the previous sessions, I can't believe it's been over a year since we got you guys into the Pay Compass studio. So let's just kind of dive in. MX Merchant, what are we talking about, gentlemen? And why should every single agent on this call get excited about it?
Yeah. So MX Merchant is our merchant-facing portal. So anybody that gets a mid with us, they get access to MX Merchant, which is where they view their statements, their reports. But there's also a lot of tools in there that they can use. There's a free virtual terminal they can run payments on, and then a lot of apps that they can kind of add on to. So it's a great tool. I mean, not just for reporting, but also to actually process payments. And it just kind of comes with your mid.
Tony, wait a second. Did I hear the word free? What are you talking about, Tony?
Yeah,
What?
the base version is free. Every merchant gets it. That's where, again, the merchant will go pull up all their monthly statements. They can go look at batch reports. They could look at, pull sales reports. If they have multiple locations, they can kind of pull all the reports for all of their locations. And there are, add-ons that there are different features or tools, apps that they can add on to MX Merchant. But the base feature, taking payments on the virtual terminal, running reports, that's all free.
Look at that. So this is why we wanted to start this conversation here today, friends, is because each and every single one of you have an opportunity to differentiate yourself from the competition that is out there equally pulling doors alongside with you, okay? Now, friends, this is the part where I'm going to put a little asterisk on this, and I want to make sure that we are 100% crystal clear on this. When it comes to your merchants having free access to MX Merchant, and this is the key piece, this is for any merchant that is boarded on either Synovus or boarded on Citizens Bank. One more time with feeling, Scott. This is free for all merchants that are boarded on either Synovus or Citizens Bank, and MX is delivered on every mid boarded on those platforms. Tony, let me kick it back over to you. So let's say I'm a sales agent and I'm out there and I'm pulling doors and I'm meeting all these business owners in the community. What is the benefit of me presenting this to a merchant? Like, what should be my talking points so this way I can get them excited so they don't talk to that other competitor who keeps visiting them every once in a while? What would you say, Tony?
Well, one, it's a way it empowers the merchant to do a lot of stuff on their own, right? They don't need to call and say, hey, can you give me my statement? I didn't see it come in the mail, right? Or, hey, can you send me my batch reports for X days? Or, anything like that. They're able to go in there, pull all the information themselves. The other big piece that we do see happen with a lot of partners that are selling to merchants is it's a very easy to use backup, right? Say you're not at your office, you're not at your store, and you need to run a payment. You can log into MX Merchant from anywhere and run their payment, right? If your terminal goes down, you can log into MX Merchant and run their payment. There's a mobile app, right? So if you are normally selling at your brick and mortar store, but you have a pop-up shop or something opening up, you could download our mobile app and take payments there without having to call your agent or call the processor, hey, I need to get set up with a separate virtual terminal. So it's really about empowering the merchant just with the tools that they need.
I would say probably the most.
Scott, can I ask you?
John, go ahead.
Just for everybody's sake, I think it's important to remind people what Citizens Bank used to be called.
Right. So it's Synovus and Wells Fargo.
There we go.
Those are the two sponsor banks. Yeah, and Synovus I think merged with Pinnacle, so maybe Pinnacle and Citizens. But yeah, those are our two major sponsor banks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what a great time to record this as I suddenly became the deer in the headlights going, what the heck was it called? Thanks, John. I panicked for like a nanosecond, so I can't wait to watch this video after. Tony, one of the things I want to tie it back into, going to what you were saying, the ability to take payments anywhere. So even if it's a merchant that goes out and does like a pop-up location or anything else, one of the things that I think about is the benefit of having the app downloaded onto their phone. Because if it's a merchant that lives, in a state like mine, the state of Maine, where, the power is intermittent during the wintertime because you lose the internet and everything else, but with the power of the app right on their phone, provided that they have a cellular connection, they have the ability to take payments that way as well too, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, it can all run over data.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I was going, okay, here comes the good stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay. He actually covered it pretty good. All right. So we talked about free VT, accept payments outside of their business location. It allows merchants to do quick payments. Tony, what I want you to do is I want you to dive into that quick pay option. And by the way, everybody on this call, we are going to highlight the MX Merchant portal a little bit later on during the call so you can see all of this stuff that we're talking about. But that quick pay, like right on the fly, the ability to accept payments. Tony, if you don't mind, just kind of verbally give everybody the talking points on that, and then we'll highlight it a little bit later on.
Yeah. I mean, we make it very easy to find, right? So it's right on the homepage of MX Merchant, bright green button, quick pay. They simply click on that. They can type in the information, card number, if they want to, type in the zip code, CVV, and charge the card, the amount, they can charge it right there. On top of that, they can do, they could even like ledger cash sales, right? So say they're somewhere taking payments, they can say, hey, I'm taking this cash sale. They don't actually need to run it or anything, but that way when they go look at their reporting, they can see, hey, I took this cash sale as well, right? So it's very easy to find, very easy to use, and we actually have some terminals that are integrated with it as well. So you can set up the terminals where you can wake it up by hitting quick pay, or you can just run the payment on the terminal and it all goes through MX Merchant as well. So we try to make it really easy for them to accept money.
One of the key pieces that you mentioned towards the very beginning, you were talking about that reporting piece. And this was something that Mr. Marshall over here had actually pointed out yesterday. John, do you remember this? We were talking about the benefit of MX Merchant for those businesses that have the multi-locations?
Right. Yes. No, the multi-mid reporting is really a neat trick. So if you're running your sales in aggregate across multiple locations or just one, you can do all the above. So it's sort of like a single sign-on in a sense, where you have access to all of your different mids and their results.
Yeah, 100%, right? So you can have one login, tie it to as many mids that you have. You can tie it to all of your mids, and then you can go into the reports and pull a report that shows the sales and batches for all of those mids, or you can look at one at a time, right? But we do have multi-mid reporting available in MX Merchant for those multi-mid locations.
Let's kind of circle back to something that you said towards the very beginning where you were talking about, it's a good opportunity for any business that needs that sort of a portal. It allows them to do the quick pay, gives them the reporting, multi-location reporting, built with the mobile app. So this way, if they go off premises or if their internet goes down, now they can still run those payments via mobile. But what I wanted to dive into is on that mobile piece. All right, are we just keying in transactions? Is there a mobile card reader that ties in with that? So what does that look like,
Yeah.
Tony?
So you can key in, comes with it, right? That's easy. But then we do have some wireless, like I think I don't know, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong. It's can
It's
connect.
Bluetooth. So we
the
have the
C3X is the one that's in our hardware list. It's
Yeah,
X.
C3X
It's
anywhere
it's right
download.
here, Scott.
So yeah, you would connect that wireless device to your phone via Bluetooth, and then yeah, you can tap pay, dip pay right on a terminal, but it goes through your phone through the mobile app.
And for clarity on that, as far as that tap to pay feature goes, that is through the Bluetooth device versus the actual tapping on the phone, correct? Or am I misspeaking on that?
Correct. So it's completed on the actual card reader itself.
Okay. I always want to make sure that we get that defined just because agents, you know I love you, and I would hate the thought of you talking to a merchant going, yeah, absolutely, you can tap on your phone all day long. So let's make sure that we keep that in the back of our minds as well, that when it comes to that tap to pay feature, it is going to require that separate Bluetooth card reader. Um, Now, one of the other things that you covered towards the very beginning, Tony, you were talking about it's a good opportunity. It gives them a VT environment, the ability to do a quick pay, the ability to do the reporting for a single location, multiple locations, multiple mids. But one of the things that you alluded to is that MX gives merchants an opportunity to utilize what is going to benefit their business without
Yes.
signing up for things that won't benefit their business. And there's an opportunity for these merchants to kind of pick and choose what's going to work best for them, almost like an a la carte type of a package. Would you mind kind of explaining that to our audience so they can have an understanding, please?
Yeah, yeah. So there's an apps section that they would go to and can see the different apps that the whatever apps honestly that the sales agent wants them to see, and they can turn things on, right? They can turn on ACH ability to take ACH payments. They can turn on invoice if they need to do invoicing and quick links. Recurring payments, right? Say they have to set up partners, or I mean customers for recurring payments and vault their card information. B2B optimizers. There's a whole litany of apps that they can go into the app store, for lack of a better term, within MX Merchant and kind of turn on the apps right there and choose which ones they want, right? So they might not need all of them. They may need one now, and then a few months from now they grow and then they want to add a different app, right? And it's they can do it all themselves, right? Just it's we're big on merchant and empowering the merchant to kind of choose which path they need to go down.
One of the things that I really enjoy the most about MX Merchant is the fact that simplicity when it comes to that app marketplace. And just for lack of a better term, we're just going to refer to it as an app marketplace. So agents, when you stop and you think about some of the other technology that you're selling to the merchants, where we're talking about Clover. Clover has that app marketplace and everything else. But the reason why I gravitate a little bit more towards what MX Merchant has to offer is because it's very simplified within the ecosystem. Okay, so when your merchant is set up with their portal and they have access to the quick pay and they have access to the reporting, within that, for lack of a better term, that app marketplace, that apps section where they can access all this information, rather than hunt and peck and try to type into a search, well, gosh, is it called level 2, level 3? Is it called B2B? How would it be listed there? MX did a great job simplifying it. I mean, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is such a huge benefit because now what you're doing as a valuable partner is putting a little bit more time back into their day so that they don't have to go down rabbit holes to try to figure out, well, what exactly is it that I need?
Exactly. Yeah, and what we want to empower the partner as well, right? Because you know who you're selling to better than anybody else. So you can, as you set people up, can choose what apps you want them to see and what apps you don't want them to see, right? Say if they're using another product that you've helped them out with somewhere else, and maybe you don't want them to sign up for that specific app through MX Merchant, they don't have to see it. But if you want them to see everything, you can choose that as well. Um, and then again, just where they can go to the app store without ever picking up the phone and calling anybody and say, hey, I actually I want to turn on surcharging, or I want to turn on account updater, and that's just something to update the cards that are in the vault if they expire. And there's a whole again a list of apps in there that they can go in and look at them first, kind of see what they do, and then activate it right within that next merchant.
All right, Tony, I love what you did there because you just kind of flipped the script a little bit. I was talking about how, from the merchant's point of view, you know, how easy we're making it, where, you pick and choose a la carte in regards to what is it that's going to help to run your business successfully. But Tony, if I heard you correctly, and hopefully all the sales agents gravitated towards this is an opportunity to kind of put time back into a sales agent's day. So as an example, the way I'm looking at it, with some of the other technology that our agents will present to a merchant, who is that first person that they're going to call when they want to expand that suite of products? They're going to reach out to the sales agent. Hey, sales agent, you know what? That would be really cool if you could set me up with ACH. Okay, yeah, well, let me reach out to my support team, or let me give you the phone number for the support team. And now what's happening is you as a sales agent, you could be losing some time because your merchant is reaching out to you directly, asking you to help kind of upgrade their existing product. But Tony, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's an opportunity for the merchant to discover on their own, and all of our sales agents can be equipped to say, yeah, you know what, as your business continues to grow, as you identify services that you need, you can go right into this app section. You can select them yourselves, correct?
100%. Absolutely correct. Which,
Yep.
I'm sure the reps all have good relationships with their merchants, right? They're probably still going to call. They might call and still ask a question, but they don't need to fill anything extra out, right? You can point them to the app marketplace and say, yeah, just go in there. There's a green activate button, click that, and you're ready to go.
Hey, Tony, let me ask you a quick question. Activating with one click is really nice. What is your policy for a merchant, for example, to try out the invoicing? Are they locked in for any period of time? Can they do it on a month-to-month basis?
Yeah, I mean they can activate it. When you click activate, that button turns to deactivate. So when they want to go in and deactivate it, it's the same process.
So they could take a test drive without any risk.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's correct. They can just activate it, and then once if they turn out next month, hey, I didn't really use it that much, didn't like it, they can turn back around and deactivate it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I would say that would definitely put time back into both an agent's day, and it would put time back into the merchant's day, where if they have the awareness of where they can be directed to access the tools that they need to run their businesses successfully, provide them with that opportunity. Say, look, just give it a click, give it a try. If it's not working for you, you're just going right back in and you're just kind of noping right out of it. But it gave you an opportunity to see what is available to you. Uh, Tony, I mean, for the most part, when we talk about some of the businesses that our agents should be targeting, when we had this conversation yesterday, we always kind of go, hey, anybody that accepts card, that would be a really good candidate. But
Right.
rather than have a conversation about, who do we assume is a good or, not a good fit, what would you say are some great use cases for MX Merchant? Just to kind of get our audience thinking about it, going, well, I actually just talked to a business similar to that. So rather than good fit, bad fit, what are some great use cases for MX?
Yeah, where I see people getting the most use out of it is anybody that has customers that they're setting up for, or they're having to invoice out invoices, right? Have a payment link on that invoice where they can make payments, as well as recurring payments, right? So I've got a list of customers that pay me monthly or bi-weekly, whatever they pay me, and I can put all those customers in there, have their cards bolted in there securely, right? I won't see their card information, and run those cards every month or you kind of set the schedule. You can even run a one-off, right? Where you can say, I'm making this payment. I want to use the same card that this customer used last month. And then some of the other apps that are in there, like the account updater, all supplement that, right? Where if I'm a big nonprofit and I've got, hundreds and hundreds of people that I'm charging monthly, and it's hard for me to look and see whose card is expiring, right? If I could turn on account updater, our system will reach out to the card brands and say, hey, this person got a new card, we updated in the vault for you, right? So you're not having to have somebody on your team call out people, say, hey, I see your card's expiring, or your payment last month didn't go through because your card's expired, can I get your new card? We'll do all of that we'll get it directly from the card brand, just update it automatically. So there's a lot of things within there that kind of supplement each other. But I've heard a lot of, I see people use it and don't attrit when they're using it with some of these, in these circumstances, recurring payments, invoicing, things like that, where it's more than just the virtual terminal.
So what we're kind of diving into here is recurring billing, invoicing, landscapers, would you say subscription based? How would we
Subscription
do
based.
like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, subscription base is a good one. Landscapers too, though, right? Because like I said, you can have a customer that's on file and just instead of asking them for their card, say, hey, is it all right if I use the same card you did last time? Cool, their card's already in there, and it's not necessarily a subscription, but you could just charge them again with the same card based on the invoice that you put together. So yeah, landscapers, people do cleaning companies, like pool cleaning and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, it's like again, I'm a little biased, like you said earlier. Hey, anybody taking a card, they can use it.
Yeah.
But it does fit into spaces like that a little bit easier.
All right. So this is the part where we'll kind of flip it a little bit and not so much, who to avoid, who's not a good fit. But just in your experience, who are some of the folks where they just kind of go, yeah, I mean, it's good to be set up with it, but, not really something I'm going to utilize to its fullest extent. Or maybe they look at it and they go, well, I actually require a heck of a lot more than what you guys can offer. So, what are some of those scenarios so this way our agents can be aware of those?
Yeah, so somebody who again would use it for their statements, their reporting, but maybe not necessarily use it for the acquiring piece or the actual processing of payments is anybody who needs EBT or PIN debit. Like if they have to have that because it's the virtual terminal, there's not a place for them to put in the PIN, right? So those wouldn't use it to its full potential. They would just really use it for the reporting. But
There
if
you go.
signature debit is good, we can do that all day through there.
All right, so that's just not so much, hey, everybody, stay absolutely away from it as much as, hey, everybody, be mindful in regards to its capabilities. And, if they're looking into a solution where it ties into that ABT, not so much going to be a good fit. Correct, Tony?
Correct. Now, once we get connected to those PIN debit rails all together and have a solution for putting in the PIN, we could do another one of these and walk everybody through that on another Toolbox Tuesday.
Excellent. All right. I see we are coming up towards the bottom of the hour. We want to make sure that we do get these questions addressed. I see a couple of questions have already popped up into the chat. Agents, be prepared. I'm going to tell you to come off mute in just about a couple of minutes here. But a couple of other things that I just want to tie into prior to us doing the whole show and tell and just kind of walking through the entire MX Merchant platform. Talking about the reporting capabilities. We talked about multi-bid, multi-location, some of the key features, transaction details, batch information, ACH funding details, chargebacks. This came up in one of our conversations when we were planning out this session. What can MX Merchant provide to any merchant when it comes to those chargeback capabilities?
So there's a part of MX Merchant where you can set up notifications, right? One of those notifications being for chargebacks. So they could set up a notification that, hey, a chargeback came in, and they're notified that a chargeback came in, and they know to work it. So I do know there's a chargeback notification system in place, but it's not a full chargeback management where I'm responding to chargebacks within MX Merchant and everything. It's just notifying me that one came in.
All right, and that's a good expectation to set with any merchant is that it will give you the notifications. However, you as a merchant need to still follow up with your due diligence as far as getting that chargeback addressed, correct?
Yeah. And then Brandon, I don't know if there's anything you can add to that, but that's
Yeah,
my knowledge.
just to add, so we actually have a separate chargeback report. It's similar to the report that pulls from MX Connect. So basically, it's going to give you transaction date, the reason description for the actual dispute. So basic information, no actions you can actually take within that report. So it's more of a visual reference.
Yeah.
All right, and one more piece that I wanted to make sure that we covered. Now, even going back to the very beginning of the call where we said, hey, everybody, if you don't remember everything during this call, remember this, boarding on Synovus, boarding on Citizens Bank. Another thing to remember, and Mr. Marshall, you got excited about this one yesterday, and I'm glad you brought it back to my attention again. For all of our agents to set expectations with their merchants for transactions processed outside of MX Merchant. Tony, take the lead on that. What are we talking about when we say that transactions processed outside of MX Merchant could have an up to 24-hour delay with the reporting.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's just because if they're processing through a terminal that's not integrated through MX Merchant, just standalone terminal or their point of sale, another virtual terminal, since those authorizations aren't being authorized on MX Merchant, then you won't see that until after it batches. When you go look at the batch report, you can see what transactions were included in the batch. And so that's what we mean, right? If they're actually running transactions through the quick pay or through an integrated terminal, and the authorizations are happening on MX Merchant, you'll see those as they come in. But for the ones that are happening outside, you'll still see them just after it batches out. When you go look at the batch report, open up the batch, see the transactions in there, but you won't see it as it's just an authorization. You won't have a chance to void it within MX Merchant. You'll just avoid that through the terminal.
Excellent. Wanted to make sure we called that out because obviously our number one goal every time we do a Toolbox Tuesday, we want to set up you the agent for success. We are at the bottom of the hour, my friends, and now's the time we're going to start taking some of your questions while we've got our two experts on the call here. So what I'm going to do at this point in time, Brandon, I know that you're the one that's going to be kind of doing us a walkthrough of the entire portal. If you would like, while we're addressing questions, if you want to get your portal pulled up so that we can share, just kind of walk through that, go ahead and do that, my friend. Tony, tell you what, let's jump into a couple of questions that popped up into the chat and let's get these addressed. Let's see. First question. I had a lot of merchants ask, and a lot of my reps have asked, ironically, just had a merchant ask me yesterday, is there a way that we can get a sandbox account set up so a merchant can go in, look around, get the look, the feel of MX Merchant?
So we do have a sandbox environment. I've only seen it utilized when somebody's coming in to do some integration. So all of MX Merchant, we have APIs for all of it. So if you're working with a software company or a point of sale company that is looking to integrate to a payment gateway, that's where I've seen the sandbox get used. So they can kind of kick the tires and kind of test their development. I'd have to check to see if there's a UI for that sandbox environment or if it's strictly API focused. I don't know if Brandon, is that something that you know?
That I am not 100% certain on. I'll have
Yeah,
to
so
check as well.
I'd have to find out about that and come back to you, Scott.
Okay, not a problem.
And Scott, I think, as what Tony mentioned, since you can turn on and turn off these added features like invoicing, there really isn't a need for a merchant to have access to a sandbox account because MX comes with their MID.
Already goes to their process.
And they can flip on invoicing, try a couple, and see if they like it, right? There's no commitment, there's no downside risk. So to me, that almost solves the sandbox question.
All right, more questions coming up into the chat. All right, can you explain how MX could work for a company only taking payments through invoices, payment links to pass the fee to the customer and offer ACH as free payment option?
Yeah, so with invoicing and you have ACH turned on as well, they can pay via ACH or card. You can also turn on what we call MX Advantage, which is our surcharging app. But it is true surcharging where it's just on credit, not on debit. And then or we have the cash discount, which just gives them a discount if they paid through cash. So that would be our kind of solution for that, where they can pass a surcharge on if they're paying with the credit card through the invoice.
All right, next question. And I think this is kind of tying into more of like a vaulting of the card type feature. One of our sales agents looking for a solution that allows for a merchant to send a payment link of some sort that allows not only to pay once, but also set a customer up to be set up for recurring subscription / payment ongoing. Meaning I'm the merchant, I send out a payment link, I capture the information, they make a payment, I can vault their card. Now I can set them up for recurring billing. What do we have for those kind of capabilities, gentlemen?
Yeah, so when the payments come in and you see a payment on a payment, like in the report, there's a way inside of that to, when you see the payment come in, to vault it at that time. Brandon, is that something we could show on the on the test account setup, or is there if there's a or does the payment have to be a live payment? Because you can vault it after a payment comes in.
So yes, we can. We do have two options. We have, yeah, definitely that payment link option, but we also have something called the link to pay that's actually tied to the actual customer invoice itself. I think that'll be a little bit better to kind of show when we do the demo. Um,
Okay, so we'll walk through that on the demo. But yeah, there's a way after the payment comes in where you can vault it. If you've sent them one invoice and they paid and you vault it from there, it'll go right to their customer. I think if it's just a regular payment, when you vault it, you would have to create the customer at that point.
All right, and one of our sales agents put a question into the chat as far as actual use case that's happening with MX Merchant right now. So we've got, hi, I've got a nonprofit that is starting to use MX Virtual Terminal for monthly recurring donations. They want to make changes to the look of receipts. Can we customize the fields or the names within the fields? Also, second part of the question, how can they run a list of donors for specific dates, a breakdown of donation dates, whether it's the 1st, 15th, 30th, etc.?
Brandon, are they able to customize the receipts at all in there? Do you know of?
so yes, so the actual receipt itself is limited on customization. The payment link feature that we do have some design options. So you can actually add a logo. You can change the font, change some of the background color. It's limited, but we do have a couple of options available for it.
Okay. Um, and I'm going to actually reach out to my Tempe team when I throw this question out there. When it comes to assisting a merchant with those kind of requests, Tempe team, would they be reaching out to you? If somebody could throw that into the chat, that would be fantastic. Next question I've got in the chat. Would MX Merchant be a good fit for a 501c3 for scheduling appointments and payment through their online commerce? I would say probably not so much for the scheduling appointments piece. Gentlemen, back me up on that one. I don't think it would be
Yeah,
good for
you hit it right on the
scheduling
head.
per se.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Not necessarily for scheduling, but for the payments. Yeah, we have a ton of 501c3s using it, mainly because of that account updater feature I spoke about earlier.
All right, so not,
No,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's yeah, that's a good answer. That's what we have for that.
Okay,
And,
so
and
not
Tony,
so much
just
for the,
Tony,
go
just
ahead, John.
to add on to this question, they talked about payment through their online e-commerce. Do you have any plugins that you can put into like BigCommerce? I heard like auth.net was one you mentioned, as far as the delay in reporting and that type of thing. But any e-commerce plugins specifically that you guys support?
Not outside of, I mean, we can give them a link that can be used where like almost for a payment form where that anywhere that link is, somebody can go fill out the payment form and make a payment. But not as far as like we're not integrated into like Shopify or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and I want to capitalize on this because it tied into a question that I threw out to the Tempe team, which is if we have a merchant that has a specific request regarding receipts or customized fields and everything else, Angie Price to the rescue wrote they would need to reach out to support@paycompass.com or they can call into the support team. Angie Price, domo arigato, as always. Thank you, my friend, for throwing that in there. One last question that has been thrown into the chat. Can the link that saves the customer's info also be saved on a website link for a subscription?
Uh, Maybe they can hop in, elaborate that some more. I'm not
Yeah,
not following.
to
Yeah,
my sales agent.
the link that we were talking about for like the invoice or the payment link, can there be some type of option on their website to set up for subscription base?
Or so the end or the card holder would set up their own subscription.
Yes, through the link. So they'd have a link on their website and then it would automatically store that so they didn't have to go back and give them their card every month for a reoccurring payment.
I saw the card can be vaulted onto the customer side, but the merchant would have to actually set up the frequency that's used after the first time. So the customer wouldn't go in and say, hey, I'm going to pay this and I want you to charge me this same amount on the 5th of every month, right? They'd make the payment. It could get that payment would get stored to that customer's profile, and the merchant would go in and actually set up the frequency of that recurrent payment after
Awesome.
that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Tony and Brandon, this next question actually kind of ties into what we're getting ready to show with that portal. Brandon, if you want to go ahead and get that pulled up, my friend, and let's throw this question out there. With adding ACH functionality to the virtual terminal for billing, is there a separate application needed, or are they just going into the MX settings within the app and signing up for ACH from there?
Correct. They would go to the apps marketplace inside of MX Merchant and choose the ACH.com tile and would be able to activate it right there.
Excellent. All right, before I give the keys to the car over to Brandon, who's going to walk us through MX Merchant. Agents, I want to be fair to you. If you wanted to come off mute, ask your question while we have our two experts on the call, go ahead, come off mute. Let's get your questions.
Is there any kind of integration with, this is Tina, with QuickBooks Online?
We do have a QuickBooks integration. Brandon, is that QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop? Do you know?
So it's only for QuickBooks Online.
Online.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay, and so the ACH, you guys, did we know this before yesterday that you did ACHing? Or is this brand new?
No,
No, this
it's-
is existed for a while now.
yeah,
ACH.com.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
All done through ACH.com, correct.
For quite some time.
okay, but so we don't need to use Paya any longer, is that correct?
Not with MX Merchant, I don't believe. Correct, gentlemen?
Yeah, if you're using MX Merchant, you can ACH through here. Or if you're using our banking, that they can also sign up through MX Merchant or our Passport banking. They can ACH through those bank accounts as well. But yeah, they wouldn't need to use that Paya.
Huh, this seems much easier than dealing with Paya. So, okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. All right. Brandon, you got the keys to the car, my man. Walk these folks through MX Merchant. We'll start with the apps and then we'll just kind of go through everything logically. Take it away, my man.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, first off, good afternoon. We are in the MX Merchant UI. All right, so this is going to be the Marketplace App Store, as we mentioned early in the call. I always say you can think of this as the merchant's toolbox. Instead of them being locked into a one-size-fits-all system, basically the merchant can customize this and add certain apps as their business grows. So for example, we mentioned MX Invoicing, ACH.com. And say a merchant wants to implement invoices and recurring billing, they can activate MX Invoice. Let's say they want to give the customers the option to pay these invoices or set an ACH as the payment method on these recurring billing payments. They can activate ACH.com. We have a QuickBooks Sync tool. Let's say a merchant uses QuickBooks from an accounting standpoint. We have a QuickBooks Sync. So, I mean, many different options here. BDB Optimizer, we have many different options. I'm going to move on to the virtual terminal.
Yep. And I would say definitely one of the things that you're going to want to share with your merchants is that, when you do get them signed up and when they do have access to this portal, it's your opportunity to be the specialist, offer them a little bit of guidance. Brandon's going to be kind enough to just kind of walk us through some of the features today. But when it comes to that app store, just remind them, if you find as your business grows, there's other things that you may need, that's your first place to start. Look at that, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant. You don't have to pick up the phone and call me. You don't have to reach out to our support team. You can do this self-sufficiently. Just a pro tip for everybody. Brandon, go ahead. Why don't you jump right into that virtual terminal into QuickPay?
Okay, awesome. All right, so here we have the virtual terminal, aka QuickPay. All right, so we have the sale refund drop down here. The middle section we'll have the tender type. So we have card, cash, and then we do have ACH.com activated on the demo bid, so ACH is there. Over on the right, we have how the merchant would like to accept the payment, basically. So we have card not present, card present keyed, card present swiped. Now, notice we do have a terminal option here. We do offer integrated terminal solutions with MX Merchant. So this current configuration that we have set up is configured for a semi-integrated solution. So I guess let me back up. We have semi-integrated and standalone. This is currently configured for semi-integrated.
Brandon, let me throw a question out there too. The same functionality available within the mobile app too, correct? As far as the quick pay feature goes?
Yes, so we're jumping ahead a little bit, but yes, so basically, I mean, our mobile app's integrated or synced to this actual gateway, meaning if a merchant uses MX Invoice, we can tie MX Invoice to it. Let's say they're set up on MX Advantage for surcharging. Surcharging is applied through the app as well. Let's say the customer has a vaulted card on file. You can actually pull the vaulted card, process the payment, and tie it to the actual customer record. So quite a few different things that can be done here.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend.
All right, so here we have the AVS loss prevention prompts. Now these can actually be disabled and enabled as the merchant needs. Let's say they don't have a street address or they don't have the postal code. They can just simply disable it to process the sale. All right, next we have the advanced dropdown. So we have the memo note section if they need to make a quick note on the payment. We have the customer name field. Now I do want to point this out. This is actually pretty neat. So this is for existing and new customers, this customer name field. So I'm going to do this here. I have a test profile saved within the customer database. I'm just going to select it. Type in the amount. Notice it's going to pull the vaulted card information, and it should be truncated. So let's say if I were to process this sale through the virtual terminal, it'll actually tie it to the customer profile. Or if this is a first-time customer, maybe they called in, they want to complete the payment, and I want to have them on file. As long as this vault card flag is enabled, it'll add them. All right, so moving on to invoice field. Let's say they use outside software for invoicing. We have an invoice field here. Tax exempt if applicable, tax amount. So these two fields here, so we have authorized and settled funds. So this is for pre-authorizations as well as forced or offline sales. So let's say I want to run a pre-auth. We're going to just simply disable the settled funds flag, process the payment. Or let's say a merchant, their terminal went down. So we need to run a bunch of forced or offline sales. We're going to disable this authorized flag, tap me the auth code. So this is basically your quick pay functionality for the virtual terminal.
Brandon, very quickly, in regards to that pre-authorization, so I want to make sure that I understand this crystal clear. If I'm a merchant and I want to send out a payment link to a customer, I can do an pre-authorization on the card to make sure that it's a legit card. And with this, in the same breath, do I have the ability to vault that card information once I've captured it?
Not through the payment link. This would be
Okay.
just through, yeah, just through quick pay.
Through QuickPay. Okay, just wanted to make sure I had clarity on that. Thank you.
All right. Let's go and jump into customers.
Jump into customers. Yep.
All right, so this is basically the customer database or the merchant's customer set. This is actually pretty neat. There's a few different actions that you can do from within the profile itself. So I'm just going to click on my test profile. All right, so we have obviously the customer name, just basic information here. This is a person. It's not going to be a business profile. Status is active. I'm just going to record last activity. So let's go and jump down to these tabs below. So we have our addresses where you can basically save customer addresses on file. Same thing for contacts. Next is the account vault. Notice I have several different cards here. We also have an ACH payment method. So you can have as many as you need on file for your specific customer. This little green flag here is an indicator that this is the primary payment method. So you can always change this if you need. Just simply go into the payment method, disable this primary flag, hit save. Now here's the cool part that I think you all would appreciate. So we just walked through the the walkthrough some of the quick pay functionality. You can actually do the same thing within the customer record. I always advise for especially merchants who use our MX invoice product to pull the customer record and basically complete everything from within the record. So the payments tab, this is going to record any and all activity process on this payments record. I believe it caps out at the past 2 years. Um, so we have your reference number, the transaction type, tender, the amount. The demo account has MX Advantage with surcharge. So we do have a surcharge column here, and that gives you the status. Um, let's go ahead and move on to invoices. Let's do that. All right, so same thing with invoices. It's going to record any and all invoices tied to this specific customer profile. You'll have your invoice number, your total, status, invoice date. If there's a due date, it'll be here, and then the terms. Gentlemen, if I'm moving a little bit too fast, just go ahead and jump in. Feel free to stop me
No,
if you have any
absolutely
questions.
fine. And I was going to say the key piece with that invoicing too. So you're highlighting previous payments that were made, current and outstanding invoices, and you can also see if you got your customers set up for recurring billing too, correct?
Correct, correct. So here's your recurring tab. Here's our status column, pretty important. Any active, completed, or canceled recurring billing contracts, it'll display here within the customer record. I want to go back to what I mentioned about the quick pay functionality. So let's say we want to add a payment to the profile. Let's say a customer calls in, we need to go ahead and just process a one-time payment. You can pull their profile, click on this add payment option. Notice this is our quick pay pop-up. So I'm just going to type in a dollar amount. Vaulted card should autofill. Customer name's already in there.
So, just very quickly, Brandon, what I'm gathering from this is it's one of two places where you can land as a merchant as far as accepting a payment from an existing customer, whether you start at the very top where that green quick pay button is, or if you're already in that invoicing section. If I understood you correctly, I have the opportunity to assist one of my customers by doing a quick pay on an existing invoice.
That's a great question. So yes.
Okay.
So all right, so let's say we do have an existing invoice or we have an invoice that's past due. Let's say the customer comes in, they want to complete the payment on the actual terminal itself. So we have a couple different options. Let's go and just go into this invoice here. All right, so we have this more option here that we can click on. We can cancel, we can edit, print, we can resend out this invoice, and we can also mark as paid. So let's say the merchant wants to complete the payment on the terminal. We have two options here. We can either update the status as marked as paid, or we can click on this add payment function here. Notice this is quick pay. We can complete the payment here. And even to kind of take it a step further, let's say we have an integrated terminal. Push the payment information to the terminal itself.
And Brandon, very quickly too, I noticed that we are coming up towards the very top of the hour. There is that one more piece that I want to make sure that we show to all of our sales agents. If we could jump into that reporting, just because I know this was something that we got super
Yeah.
excited about yesterday when we were kind of doing the dry run before today's session, where we were talking about the ability to identify the multi-mid locations. Would you mind showing that to our audience? Because I thought that was a very valuable piece when you showed that to us yesterday.
Yes, so we do have that multi-mid reporting feature. So that'll be in this reports tab. So this reports tab will basically record any transaction data from merchants that process outside of the MXM gateway. If we take a look in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to have our filters. Okay, these are filter options here, notice we do have a location section where I can select each location I want to do the reporting for. I'm going to hit apply. And you have, if I can adjust this, there we go. We have multiple MIDs reporting within one report. Take it a step further, we have an export tool that you can export this report to a CSV file.
Excellent. And yeah, and I can see, yeah, there we go. You just pulled it back up again. So we can see it based upon the payment type as well, whether it's Visa, Amex, EBT, etc. So I mean, there's a lot of criteria that a merchant can dive into to create their own specific reporting, correct?
Correct. You can definitely filter this report and tailor it to whatever they need. Yeah, definitely a few different options here. Just gonna
Excellent.
deselect.
All right, and tell you what I'm going to do, gentlemen, just because I want to be respectful of your time, I want to be respectful of our agent's time. I've got more questions coming up into the chat, so tell you what, gentlemen, let's get these knocked out. And agent, it's also your opportunity to come off mute, get your questions out there while we've got our experts on the call. And then after that, we're going to wish you the best for the rest of your Tuesday. So here's a question that came up a little bit earlier. What terminal is standalone and does it offer dual payment? And if we need clarity, we might have to ask the agent to come off mute on that one. So what terminal is standalone and does it offer dual pay?
Like dual pricing?
Dual price.
I'm assuming so.
Gotcha. Well, Brandon, I know we have like there's a few different terminals that we have integrated through MX Merchant. Outside of MX Merchant, if it's standalone, there's some, I think there's a couple options that you could use that do dual pricing, as far as the Deja Vu or the Valor, I think does it. But is there a dual pricing terminal that's integrated through MX Merchant? 'Cause I know we have the surcharging through.
No,
Okay.
no, not true dual pricing, only MX
Surcharging.
Advantage.
Yeah, which
Surcharge, right.
the surcharging, that's right.
Okay, excellent. And another question that popped up into the chat. I am pulling MX Merchant and don't see. All right, I'm not sure if I understand this question, and I may wind up leaning into the agent. So it says, I'm pulling MX Merchant and don't see what a customer could use this. I'm sorry. If I can have the agent come off mute to get this question out there, that would be great. But basically, the second part of the question, should I have to add all of my customers manually in there, or does it come automatically once they sign up under Pay Compass? And I'm assuming we could be talking more MX Connect more versus MX Merchant. Sales agent, if you can come off mute, get that question out there, that would be great. And in the interim, I'm going to move on to the next question.
Thank you.
In the quick pay, oh, go ahead, please, Hector, jump in.
Oh yeah, appreciate you. Yeah, so I am pulling the app and I don't see a customer that is trying to do that compliance, the PCI compliance, something like that. But I don't see it there in the list. I don't know if I need to add this customer manually. That's my question, or
So
if
if the
automatic.
customers got a mid with us, they've got MX Merchant. So if it's, I think it's just depends on where that mid is living. So that might be something we can take offline. But if they got a mid with us, they have MX Merchant, we can help them get to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. And Hector, you're a good man. Thank you for coming off mute. And because, man, oh man, I didn't want to mess up your question, friend. So thank you for coming off mute on that one. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Another
so
question. Thank you, my man. Got another question in the chat going back to that quick pay feature. And this ties more into like a silent auction type of scenario. So in quick pay, how can we add items and amounts ahead of time for a silent auction or ticket prices before the event? Yeah, are those capabilities a part of MX Merchant?
So that's going to be a little bit of a different add-on if you're looking to add like inventory. That's going to come with our MX Retail product, not within MXM Quick Pay.
So Brandon,
Right.
let me chime in here and ask. So with a pay link, can a pay link specify the amount and maybe a description for, like, so kind of creating
Let's go ahead
like
and
a
dive into it.
one-off, like again, the silent auction for $100 or something like that.
Yeah, so you can actually create as many payment links as you need. If you have a specific like subscription service, you can definitely you can create a payment link for that. So I guess let me go ahead and just show you. These are basically all of our test links. Notice they have their own name and description. These are two required fields. Okay, so from scratch, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to click on Add Payment Link. Okay, we're going to name this Test 1. Okay, um, I'll go over this really quick. So these are basically the redirects. So if the payment is successful, go to this is going to be the forwarding URL. We don't actually create this, but we do have a field here for the merchant to input a URL. Down towards the bottom, you can set a specific amount or limit for this specific link. You can set a range. Okay, you can set, let's say the merchants run a special promotion, they can set an expiration date on this specific payment link. Um, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hit save on this. It automatically generates the link. The link is here. So we have the embed link if they want to embed this on a company site. And then if they want to just simply view the link, it's here. Have them click on it. Here's the payment link.
Excellent.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say thank you for showing that, Brandon. I appreciate it, my man.
So Brandon, just to recap on that question, it sounds like you could, for instance, for donations, you could have a 10, a 25, and a $50 donation link. Or for the silent auction or ticket prices, you could have a 2-pack of ticket at X, $50, a 4-pack of tickets, right? So you could kind of create some very, very limited inventory, if you will, behind each pay link. Is that fair?
Yes. Okay. Yes. I see. Okay.
Okay, great.
Excellent. All right, friends, we are at the top of the hour. I'm going to throw it out to you, the sales agent, one more time. It's your opportunity to either come off mute, throw your questions into the chat, and then we're going to call it a Tuesday, and then we'll see you again next week on Tuesday. But let's get this Tuesday done first. What do you have for questions while we've got our two experts on the call? Come off mute, throw your questions in the chat. What do we got, friends? Going once. Going twice.
I still have a question about running those reports. So if they need to know who's donating on the 1st, the 15th, or the 30th, how do I teach them to run those reports? Because they need to then verify that everybody's card got charged on those specific dates.
And this kind of ties into the example that you had put into the chat earlier, Chrissy, correct? You were talking about...
Yeah, I just never heard an answer as to what, like, they don't want one report for all of them. They want to pick, okay, I need to know who's supposed to run on the 1st, who's supposed to run on the 15th, who's supposed to run on the 30th. So it's 3 separate reports because they need it broken down. And then, then they have to physically go into each of those customers or donors' sites to make sure that, they got charged. Because they have a list of who's going to be doing, and they need to know, did those cards get charged?
Yeah. And this would be for recurring billing to be specific,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So we do have a recurring tab. That basically gives you the breakdown for your customers' recurring billing. You can filter this report as needed. So let's say you have pending or active or completed payments, it will show on this report if they're not wanting to go into the actual customer record itself.
And then from there, you can filter it, I think, from the question, right? As what is like, you know, if it's every time, if it's, and then you have that on column, right? If they're paying on the first day, if they're paying on the 15th day, if they're paying on the last day of each month. And then what the status is, right? They're active, it's good, it's pending, we pause this one. And when their next bill date is, last bill date, next bill date, and that's all exportable as well.
And Brandon, it looked like you could specify a custom date range if she wanted to look just at the 15th, for example, or something of that sort.
Yes, absolutely. Here's the custom date filter here.
There we go. Okay. Chrissy, was that helpful?
Yeah, I'm trying to do what you're doing on on their actual account to see.
Okay. Got it. All right. Sales agents, one more time. What do you have for questions while we've got our experts on the call? You can come off mute or throw it right in the chat. Make sure we get it addressed. Going once.
I got a question. Would that report only work
Go ahead.
if the transaction has been made, or would she be able to see it, say they set it up for the first, but then it hasn't actually ran until the first of the next month? That might help her. Would she be
Yeah,
able
Sorry.
to?
that would be nice to make sure I've covered, that they've added because they're taking it from another system and hand keying it into MX Merchant. So I want to make sure that they've got everybody converted, or added into the system. So that would be helpful to be able to run a report.
So Brandon, can you see, for example, a list of just those customers that are scheduled for the 15th versus the people that are scheduled for the 30th?
Yes.
Like kind of which recurring plan they're assigned to.
So you can filter their support by the plan type. Um, let's do this. So we have a receivable forecast and receivable aging report that is available in here.